Hi guys, and welcome to the first episode of my Dissertation Diary series. So I'm just going to do a bit of background about me, my education and the series. It'll be brief, don't worry. So I graduated from the University of York in 2020 with a law degree. I literally documented the whole process of me doing my undergraduate dissertation on my channel. So there's 6 episodes that you can go and watch, and it basically documents the process from me thinking about what I want to write my dissertation on, doing the proposal, doing all the research, legal analysis, writing the thing, and then I also disseminate it at the end and basically tell you all about what I wrote it on and why, and basically explain it all in layman's terms kind of thing. That's on my channel. I will link it like up here, and I'll also put it in the description below, the playlist to go and watch that. At the moment I'm doing my master's at King's College London in medical ethics and law, so I am following on what I wrote for my undergrad dissertation into my master's. So for my undergrad, I think my question roughly was on the lines of, to what extent should the legal and ethical challenges be considered in the future use and development of human germline genome editing in the UK. Wow, the fact that I can remember that is sad, but that was my title, and I got a first for that dissertation. So I wanted to sort of go further on that in my master because that's very much my area of interest. But when I submitted that topic area, I think in about November, December, to my potential dissertation supervisor here at King's, they were like, no. So I had to rewrite my whole idea. They basically said that I can do it on gene editing, but what I did for my undergrad was way too broad, so it needs to be really niche. So today's episode is all about how I niched it and the proposal that I had to write. Thankfully this one isn't graded, but the one that I had to do for undergrad was graded, and basically just explain like what I'm going to be writing my thing on and show you my proposal. I also want to note that I haven't got my feedback for the proposal back yet, but when I do I will put it in the next episode, and then you guys can see like how I tweak it and stuff. But I thought now is a good kind of moment to show you what I've got. So the new working research question stroke title is considering the ethical challenges surrounding consent, should the law permit the reproductive use of germline genome editing in the UK? So basically when I did my undergrad I wrote like four ethical arguments. I looked at eugenics, I looked at consent, I looked at discrimination and social equality, and I looked at, what was the 4th? Am I going to have to look this up? I am. I only wrote this 6 months ago. I can't even remember all of my chapters. Oh, right. The need for the technology. That's why I can't remember it, because it's kind of a redundant one. Okay, yeah, so I decided basically to pick one of those and go way more in depth on it, and generally look at like, what is germline genome editing? What can it do? Why is it so contentious? What has been done on it previously? Like, has it been successful? Has it not? What is the general consensus on it? And why is there a ban? Like, why does the law not permit it? And then look at this major, like, unsolvable in a way, contentious ethical issue of consent, which has 2 parts to it really. Like, there's consent in the sense that, okay, so you're editing the genes of an embryo essentially. That embryo can't consent to the procedure as it's being done, but also every single generation leading off that embryo going forward hasn't consented to the alteration of their genes. Yeah, there's like those 2 levels of consent, which I think is really interesting. There's so many elements to it. So I want to look at those and like basically say like, are they issues? And if they're not, or even if they are, should the law care about them? That's basically it. So yeah, that's pretty much what I want to write it on. The proposal itself was 1,500 words plus a full bibliography of like what you want to use and things like that going forward, of sources wise. So the proposal was split into a few sections. So firstly you had to say like outline of your research. So what is it? Why do you want to do it? All of that. Then you had to say like a skeleton plan of breaking down chapter to chapter or area to area what you want to write, how you want to write it, a brief overview of your arguments, like how is it all going to flow, which I think in a way was the hardest bit for me because I just sat there for ages like, I don't know, I haven't done the research yet. So that was hard to try and think about like the flow throughout the whole 15,000 words and how it would go without effectively having done the research. Then you had to do an annotated bibliography. God, I had to do one of these for my undergrad and I hate them. But this time you had to do 5 sources, so 5 key sources that you want to use and say how they'll be helpful for your research. And that was it. So it actually was pretty painless, and again, it wasn't graded, thankfully. So I'm just going to put it on screen now and show you kind of what it looks like. Generally, I think this is one of the first bits of work I've ever submitted, that's not in Times Roman numeral. I don't know why I didn't put in Times Roman numeral. I mean, you don't have to put it in that, but I normally do. So it's weird for me to look at this now. So yeah, so basically I did the first paragraph about like what the technology is and what the current law is on it. And then I did the second paragraph about what I want to do within the legal aspects of my dissertation, the legal parameters, like why there is need to look into it, how I'm going to look into it, and what it hopefully will produce. Exactly the same for the ethics. Then I added in my paragraph about basically the World Health Organization is doing a report right now reviewing gene editing. So when that comes out, which should come out in the next few months, that'll be really interesting for me to analyse. And then basically a concluding paragraph to say what I hope will come from the research, and that I'm going to basically give recommendations for the framework that hopefully should come out in the future. The schedule plan, as I said, was the hardest bit. Like, it was hard to try and wrap my brain around, like, thinking about the whole structure of this thing. So it's pretty brief. I'm not going to lie, it's kind of like bullet points, but we were allowed to do bullet points, thankfully. So as you can see here, I broke it down into the same structure really as the outline of research. So firstly, looking into what gene editing is, defining disease and disability, where you can draw the line, like why should we even legalise technology, like what's the point? Then looking at the law, generally what is the law, why should we be able to do it, why shouldn't we, and like has the ethical consideration of consent been looked at before within the law, which it has. And then ethics, same thing with ethics, like just looking at the origins of that argument, exploring key arguments within the literature. I think what I'm going to do is, throughout my research, probably pick the most prominent author presenting the most prominent arguments, or one or two authors presenting the most prominent arguments on consent, and then just critically analyse what they've said rather than looking at the argument as a whole. That's what I'm thinking about doing right now, but I don't know. And then I'm going to do conclusions and recommendations, which you can see is very short because I don't know what they're going to be. And then annotated bibliography, which is like 2 sentences explaining like this book will be good because, you know, it has key arguments in it. So that's pretty much it for the proposal. Let me know if this has been helpful. I kind of wanted to show you like what I'm writing and going forward on it. Like, this basically took me, I think, a day to bang out. It wasn't planned. It wasn't a planned through thing, but like with a lot of the dissertation work, I think my headspace is very much like it's due in September. I'll figure it out down the line. I've got other stuff due in April. So, you know, I'm not really focusing on it so much, and also it's not graded. So it's hard to focus on something when it's not graded when other stuff is. Like, all my essays that are due are each 20 credits. Like, that's insane. Apparently there's a motorbike drag race going on outside right now. But yeah, I hope you like this video. Let me know if it's been useful to you. If you're also doing a dissertation, what are you doing yours on? If you have any tips, or you want me to share any tips from that I learned during my undergrad, let me know. Happy to share them in the next episode of this. I'll basically do another episode when I'm at the next stage of doing this research. So I hope you like this video. See you guys in the next one. See you guys next time. Bye.